Hello everyone and welcome back to the second part of my Lancer lore series. After giving you a brief overview in the first episode, today we will start diving into the deep end, a look at the universe at large. I will be starting with a section that explains some of the basics of the setting better. Mankind divided into cosmopolitans and diasporans, pilots, lancer and union, mechanized cavalry, infantry and other ground forces, space combat, core worlds and colonies, the ubiquitous printing technology. All of these and some more are parts of this upcoming section, so sit back, listen and hopefully enjoy as we delve together into what makes Lancer tick. Signal Spur, Orion Arm, humanity across the stars. Cosmopolitans and diasporans. In the narrative present of Lancer, humanity is vast and polyglot. A scattered number of core worlds enjoy a golden age. Spread out across habitable and uninhabitable worlds, humans enjoy the fruits of robust scientific, political, and cultural advancements, and have access to such a gross amount of resources that their worlds are, essentially, post-scarcity. Life on a given core world is stable, safe, and without want. From galactic hubs glittering with metro swaths and ecologies, to pastoral Arcadian idylls, core worlds are as close to utopian societies as humanity has ever created. But core worlds are not the only states under Union's hegemony. Outside of the developed core worlds, there is still a raw, dangerous edge to human life. The frontier waits both away from the bright core of the galaxy and towards it. These are the colonies where new states are to be built, settlements developed, and old ghosts put to sleep. People who make their homes on these terrestrial worlds, large orbital stations, and habitable moons, whether core or colony, are diasporan humans. They are the human diaspora, and their homes are tied to a specific location on a specific world or station, and their lives are concerned with events that occur around, in, or to that location. Meanwhile, the people who embark on missions or pilgrimages between and beyond these frontiers are called cosmopolitans. Their homes are, typically, their ship or the world they left behind. Interstellar travel comes at a cost. Time. Life for a cosmopolitan human is split into subjective and real time, or time as the cosmopolitan experiences it, and time as the rest of the galaxy experiences it, recorded by Union. Cosmopolitans leave their old lives behind as the effects of relativistic interstellar travel, cumulative or from a single instance, splits them from the real time of the rest of the galaxy. They trade the permanence and normality of a terrestrial life for the vast life, the uprooted life, and a life lived in the wind. On core and colony worlds, humanity expresses itself in many faiths, cultural practices, genders, and social structures. We create art, shape the land, build massive cities, construct great works of engineering. We write, we cook, we drink, we play sports, we journey, we wander. We populate our arm of the galaxy as a roiling people, often contradictory, often myopic, but ever learning, ever growing. Humanity is no less fragile and no more disposable now that we have crossed the stars and numbers in trillions. The great purpose of human life on the galactic scale is to defend the collective while defining the individual, to journey beyond, to discover ourselves, to not simply exist but become. It is a good thing, some of Union's more pessimistic philosophers think, that we are alone in this great venture. The galaxy that humanity has stepped again into is empty but for us. Colonies, left to their own for thousands of years, have developed into their own interplanetary cultures and states. Now, Union works to integrate them back into the purview of their hegemony, a process that has at best been rocky. Union, as a project and government, hasn't been without its own turbulence. Born from World War, raised under the assumption of foundation, gripped by Earth-first chauvinism, and now stepping forward with a tenuous hope after a popular revolution, Union approaches their stewardship of the galaxy with equal parts determination and contrition. The narrative present of Lancer takes place under Union's third committee, and their project is never ending. There are a few truths held by the majority of humanity. Our numbers are simply too vast. But the ones that are universal are fundamental, seen as core tenets of what it means to be human. First, to be a human being under Union's Third Comity is to be afforded the decency of a life lived with your essential needs seen to. Your state will make available to you food, water, shelter, and labor, and will never deny you those rights. To do so is to violate the most basic of social contracts. Second, no walls shall stand between worlds. The void of interstellar space is deep and cold, utterly hostile to life. Any civilian world, station, or moon not deemed to be of significant private or restricted interest must allow all who petition for access to feel the firm ground beneath their feet, breathe clean air, and feel again the light of a life-giving sun. Finally, no human shall be held in bondage through force, labor, or debt. Scarcity of natural resources on a core world is a false premise, a myth, a tool used by the few to oppress the many while enriching themselves. This is the same for colony worlds. The dignity of human life is paramount among the diaspora, and to use hard or soft power to exploit a person, their labor, and deny them their just compensation is abhorrent. All that being said, humanity exists on a spectrum of development, and at the present the Third Comitee's promises are in the process of being realized. While the majority of the developed galaxy might hold these to be self-evident truths, guaranteeing them is never a finished project. Most of the developed galaxy only represents a plurality, not a majority, of the populated galaxy. Remember, power never gives up power. Power is only ever taken from the powerful and redistributed to the people, where it must be constantly cultivated, regulated, and maintained. This is the dream some worlds have realized, and the project that Union's Third Comity, humanity's new core organization, works to accomplish. Union is many things, but above everything else, it is an incomplete project, human to its core. Despite every wonder of technology, every miracle at their disposal, Union still needs people, needs you, to make the right decisions, to be brave, and to make it work. Why we fight. Notice the hatching in the previous section. Usually, most, the majority, by and large. This is to mark the gaps in this golden age, the places where the galaxy does not conform to Union standards of development. War still plagues humanity. No system so large and so varied will be completely harmonious, but Union and its proxies are working to make it so. Note again that harmonious in this context means that which is agreeable to Union. It is absolutely possible that your player characters will reject Union's hegemony. In Lancer, humans fight over two things: territory and ideology. Resource-rich and strategically placed terrestrial worlds and moons, habitable or not, are common regional flashpoints. The rise of destabilizing actors like corporastates has led to a run on planets rich with rare elements necessary to fabricate the fantastic technologies the galaxy has come to view as normal. This produces conflict between corporastates. Some hire mercenaries to accompany their claims teams, others raise and field their own standing armies. Ideology tends to be the seed of conflict that drives the states to fight other states, or for states to fracture and fight civil wars. These conflicts are protracted and bloody, as neither side is likely to surrender unless they give in to attrition. States and corporastates engage one another over territory and labor. Most of these conflicts occur in small engagements over important persons, locations, and facilities, as small teams of highly trained agents fight extensive corporate-state mercenaries in clandestine firefights. Occasionally, a corporate-state's acquisition of a world will turn hostile, and conflicts will rage across and above it as the states attempt to secure its holdings. The seed of many of these conflicts are the lingering ghosts of Union's Second Comity, an anthro-chauvinist fascist regime that previously commanded Union. They did not give up power willingly. It was taken from them by the founders of the current Central Committee, the Third Comity, backed by a popular but very local-to-cradle revolution. The Third Committee, now a stable body, works to roll back the crimes of the Second, a seemingly never-ending project. Pilots. A note on the player character's role, or how pilots become lancers. Player pilots and lancer generally fill a common archetype and tend to be aware of their status. In setting as a lancer, the galaxy's colloquial term for a role similar to a flying ace, but how they respond to that status and act in their role differs from pilot to pilot. It is perfectly possible and narratively interesting to not play as a lancer but as a run-of-the-mill pilot, one without the blessing of destiny or the distinction of being the special one. If that's the case, your character would likely shirk the title and simply go by their rank, title, honorific, or name. While there are gradations of skill among pilots, generally speaking, a trained and outfitted mech pilot in their chassis will beat a conscript or unskilled pilot in a mech, even in situations where the trained pilot might be outnumbered. A mech pilot and lancer, outside of the mech, is usually a well-trained combatant, adept to expert in the fields of their background cover. They are not super soldiers, though some with heavy cybernetic enhancements might be able to operate outside the bounds of normal human ability. Most pilots, as a consequence of being a human in the narrative present, have some degree of non-invasive biological enhancement, but rely heavily on wearable, detachable technologies and months to years of training to augment their talents and knowledge. A Union-rated mech pilot, one that is a regular or auxiliary trooper, is generally educated by the Navy, specialized in their role through training, travels some through their world or the local system, and is at least in their mid-20s. It is rare to see a pilot younger than that due to the necessary qualifications for training. All Union regulars and auxiliary pilots are put through the same naturalization courses, trained by Union regulars and instructors, and serve in integrated units for a period of 10 years. For pilots not affiliated with Union as regular or auxiliary troopers, standards are different. Corporate states might tune their pilots via implants or prosthetics to be more compatible with their own chassis lines. The ON raise their pilots alongside their NHP analogs, who will pilot their chassis with them. The Karakin baronies outfit their sons and daughters with a legacy chassis and offer them to martial academies for training. Ungrateful guerrillas take what they can get, and so on. The majority of pilots and lancers are simply individuals trained and outfitted to crew their machines. Your pilot, or your player's pilot, might be the special one, or the chosen one, or otherwise blessed with some combination of fate, talent, and destiny, or they might not. Maybe they're just the person in the pilot seat, in the right place, at the right time. Pilots, Lancers, and Union. What sets your pilot apart from the rest of the mech pilots in the galaxy? What makes them a Lancer? It is important to note that the term Lancers in Lancer is a catch-all term for mech pilots across the galaxy who are roughly equivalent, by Union standards, to a contemporary ace. Not all pilots or people who crew mechs are Lancers. The majority of them are just competent pilots, but all Lancers are pilots. Lancers tend to be set apart from regular pilots by ability, talent, training, luck, skill, reputation, or some combination of these factors. They do not achieve any classification or gain any medals, certifications, or rank that qualifies them as a Lancer. It's simply a colloquial title that exceptional pilots achieve through a combination of time in the saddle and performance on campaign. There is an argument that some form of identification system exists at levels so far removed from the players as to be a secret that would not only never be uncovered, but not even assumed as a possibility. A rumor exists among pilots that Lancers are chosen for their role, their names noted down in some distant database deep under Cradle's surface. Some pilots, the mystics, the superstitious, the paranoid, believe that Union has intervened in their lives or the lives of others in order to make them Lancers. For the rest, it is because of their skill, strength, and experience that they have earned the right to call themselves Lancer. No help from Union, no preordination from down on high. They became a pilot when they were conscripted, or when they enlisted, or when the ships came and bombed their homes, and they chose to fight back. Pilots, Lancers, are made, yes, but whether by deep machinations, by fate, by chance, or by choice, who can say? It's important to note, pilots and Lancers both have downtime. Combat, exercise in the field, and moments of stress and fear generally do not occupy the majority of their time. So what does this look like in practice? Some examples follow. Union regulars, a cog in the greatest machine. A squad of Union regular troops, tight-knit on campaign together, laughing and joking as they run post-sortie checks on their chassis. They are one squad of hundreds on the deck of a carrier, their home only for a few more years, each member from a different world, bound together now by a greater purpose. Union doesn't work without these pilots. A whole galaxy of bickering states, of kings and presidents who think they can shake the pillars of heaven, might as well turn their backs to the ocean. When they do, these are the people who darken their skies, who drop to their world, and who set them right where they done wrong. Nothing sets this campaign apart for them, regulars on the second tour. An administrator's report, filed by the DOJ, a battle group organized, a briefing to sea, a king who thinks himself a god, who grinds his boot on the neck of a people he thinks are his. He forgot they are not his people, they're Union. Time's come for the king to get a reminder that Cradle's reach is long, its vision is pure, and its will inexorable. As veterans of this campaign by now, these pilots have been given a little bit more autonomy than the replacements. Their chassis bear more kill hashes, carry heavier weapons than boot squads fresh from the deck. They're still subordinate to their CO, but all the other grunts look to them when the lead and lasers start flying. They've been in the shit a bit longer. Learned how to move when someone downrange wants to kill them. They are Lancers, veterans of a campaign that has ground all of their friends to dust and ash. From different worlds, of different backgrounds, all bound by the same truth. They're Union, and they're here to help. Yond Balor, second of the House of Yond, heir by blade. In the baronies, glory is given only to those who prove they deserve it. Yond Balor Karakis, second son of Yondalef Karakis, Baron of the House of Yond, sub-barony of the House of Glass, has proven through combat and intrigue that he alone deserves to command the war host of the House of Glass. But one obstacle remained. Yond Argo Karakis, Yond Balor's older brother, first claimant to the throne and by extension the war host of the House of Glass. As a youth, Yond Balor was raised to crew the chassis, to gird himself in sealed power armors and become the death word of House Yond. He proved himself in battle against the Ungratefuls, against House Moor and House Fleur, even in single combat against the Vice Lord of the House of Sand. Yond Balor alone stood by his father's deathbed when Yondalef fevered, poisoned by the assassins sent by the mutable houses. And where was Yond Argo? Where was the first named? Gone, traveling through space, pledged to those headless ones, to Union. Yond Balor wasted no time in dispatching his older, far older, brother when he came to pay respects to his late father. Yond Balor has taken what is his by birth, drawn its steaming from the guts of its worthless kin. As the chassis closes around him and the red light of the ready light begins to pulse, he grins. His name is no longer second son, it is Lancer, first and only. Jedda, Loyal Wing. How many times had he cleaned blood and burned from his Loyal Wing's hardsuit? How many times had he nursed his Loyal Wing while he lay in agony, moaning through nightmares that gripped him since the Meta Vault? Countless times. Jedda may not have seen the terrors that Loyal Wings face, but he has seen their echoes. Never did it dissuade him, for he remembered, these are the only ones who came to save him. Now, on his 18th subjective year, he has been called before the Loyal Council for assessment and ordination. His teacher has picked him, of all his fellows, to learn the art of piloting, the art of standing at the spare tip. His breast swells with pride when he hears his name called. Rising, he walks across the dawn-lit courtyard to stand beside the rest of the Loyal Council. In time, he too will heft the lance. He too will wear the golden armor, will wield the laser and rifle. He will be a Lancer. Hero to the lost.